Imagine a king who smiled in Europe's grand halls but left a trail of death and terror in Africa, a man whose greed cost millions of lives. This was King Leopold II of Belgium, the ruler behind one of the darkest chapters in human history. The Congo Free State, presented as a humanitarian project, was in reality a personal empire built on the blood and suffering of the Congolese people. Rubber and ivory flowed to Europe, but the price was unimaginable. Villages were raided, hands were chopped off as punishment, and entire communities were terrorized to meet the impossible quotas demanded by the king's agents. Leopold's officials used fear as a weapon, driving people into forced labor camps and punishing anyone who resisted. Men, women, and children were exploited, beaten, and executed. Some were even starved to death or mutilated in front of their families to set an example. The world watched in partial silence as millions perished, their deaths largely ignored in European textbooks for decades. Estimates suggest that between 10 and 15 million Congolese lost their lives under Leopold's rule, a genocide fueled by rubber, greed, and absolute power. The king's ambition was not just for wealth, it was for domination. Leopold II wanted to prove Belgium's power on the global stage, and the Congo became his personal playground. Money flowed into Europe, lavish palaces were built, and Leopold's image as a benevolent monarch remained intact for years, masking the horrors inflicted thousands of miles away. This stark contrast between opulence and suffering shows how cruelty can hide behind respectability, and how history can be rewritten by those in power. Even today, the legacy of Leopold's rule casts a long shadow. Roads, cities, and systems imposed during the Congo Free State laid foundations for exploitation and corruption that lasted long after his death. Yet the human cost is staggering, a reminder of what happens when unchecked power meets complete disregard for human life. The victims, their stories, and their suffering deserve to be remembered. They are a testament to resilience, but also a warning of how greed can devastate entire nations. It's easy to look back and be shocked, but it's harder to grasp the scale of cruelty when you imagine it happening today. Leopold's personal ambition turned ordinary lives into instruments of profit, and the fear he sowed ensured obedience at every level. The hands chopped off, the families torn apart, the villages emptied. This was not distant history. This was calculated, deliberate terror that created a fortune for one man while leaving a continent in agony, and yet the Congo survived. The culture, spirit, and resilience of its people endured despite one of history's most horrific genocides. Remembering this history is not just about outrage. It's about understanding how human greed can escalate into unimaginable horror and why the truth must never be hidden. King Leopold II may have ruled with wealth and deceit, but the courage and endurance of the Congolese people tell a story far greater than the greed of a single king.